today we've got a lot planned. We're going to start out with our intros as usual with our intro question, which this time is what is your favorite cereal? And you have to back it up. Then we're going to move into a slightly more controversial subject, which is astrology. We've got an interview set up for today with our friend Leo, who is into astrology, posts astrology memes on his story. So we're going to talk about Leo's beliefs, our beliefs, and it may be a bit controversial for anyone who is into astrology, because I can't speak for the rest of us because we haven't discussed this yet, but I know that I myself don't really buy into that. So there may be a few arguments here or there. We're also going to look at some astrology Instagram accounts. And finally, we're going to wrap it up with some current events, which are not corona related. So let's start it out. I am Caleb.
I'm Miles.
I'm Raleigh.
Alan?
All right. So into the next intro question. What is your favorite cereal? And you have to give an explanation.
So, I would probably say Cinnamon Toast Crunch. One being is like, I know a big problem with cereal is like it gets soggy and it kind of sucks, unless that's your preference, which is fine. I don't really love it. But with Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I don't really care if it gets soggy. And also, it really affects the milk, which always seems like kind of a chore. Like, I know that when I'm done with the cereal, like, the milk is kind of there, but, like, there's a lot of, like, sugar and cinnamon residue on the cereal itself, so it makes the milk bearable. And that's it.
Okay. All right, so whoever wants to go next can go ahead.
I can go next. So, Miles, I respect your opinion. I'm a fellow Cinnamon Toast Crunch fan. So my favorite cereal is Cocoa Puffs. I'm a chocolate fan. Some of you guys may know this. Some of you guys might disagree. Even if you're not a chocolate fan, if you have ever eaten Cocoa Puffs, you know that they turn the milk chocolatey. And like Miles said, that makes the milk bearable. And in my opinion, other chocolate cereals like, chocolate Cheerios or Cocoa Krispies or Cocoa Pebbles, they don't do the same thing that Cocoa Puffs does. Cocoa Puffs has perfected the chocolate milk sort of essence that it gives off, and it just tastes like chocolate, where other cereals, they just lack chocolate flavor.
Well, on that topic of puffs, I would like to talk about Trix, which are also puffs, but they're fruity and they're more sugary, and they're my favorite cereal. So, yeah, I mean, they're pretty good.
Okay. My favorite cereal, personally, is Lucky Charms. Now, I've personally heard that some people in this chat do not like Lucky Charms, which I will say is kind of insane. So, you got, like, the normal, like, just, like, the, whatever you call it, like, the normal cereal, right? And it's just kind of like your average, like, Cheerios or whatever, and it's like, I like Cheerios, personally. So, I like those. But it's also got, with the extra, the addition, the garnish, you got the marshmallows. Personally, those taste fantastic. Those are fire. Makes the whole cereal.
Okay, so here's my thing. The perfect cereal, in my opinion, should taste good both dry and with milk. And I think all of the cereals here meet that criteria except one. I love Cocoa Puffs, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Trix, dry or wet. But Lucky Charms are only good dry. The marshmallows, when they're in milk, they get soggy, and they taste and feel like wet trash.
Personally, I disagree. I think they go both ways fantastically. I mean, I guess it's just up to your personal taste, but I don't know. I like them both wet and dry.
So my argument is a lot different. When you look at the cereal part, it's like a worse version of Frosted Cheerios. I mean, if that's the part you like, then just get Frosted Cheerios. You'd be doing yourself a favor. If you like the marshmallow part, you're a psychopath because those things don't taste like marshmallows. They're disgusting and they feel weird on your teeth.
I actually like the way the marshmallows feel like when they're dry, though.
Just the idea of crunching into a mouthful of those makes me want to vomit.
Raleigh, do
I
you
don't-
have a response?
I don't know why they're even called marshmallows. Those are so different from marshmallows, which you use in s'mores, which you use in, marshmallow flavored things. It's just they're two different things. I love marshmallows. Don't get me wrong. Do not call those things marshmallows. That's a disgrace to the name of marshmallows.
Okay, Caleb.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No, so I don't know. Well, personally, I think that if you were to put regular marshmallows, like just like your average, s'mores kind or whatever, in milk, those would be disgusting, to be honest. But I mean, I don't know. Once again, I think it's just up to personal taste.
You know what I
personally
think is
love-
interesting is like the Lucky Charms marshmallows are similar to they're like dehydrated, which I think kind of makes sense because I think typically you'd be putting it in milk rather than eating it dry, which because then you're
Yeah.
kind of hydrating it. Then still doesn't feel like a regular marshmallow.
It just feels wet. And now I would not say that they are marshmallows. I would rather compare them to freeze-dried like snacks. Have you guys ever had like astronaut ice cream?
Astronaut ice cream,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have
That's what
not.
they. It's just crunch. It tastes like it. Well, it feels like a Lucky Charms marshmallow. It just tastes like whatever ice cream you're gonna get. And
You're making me nauseous. Let's move on. Let's move on. I don't like this topic.
Okay.
So next we're going to be talking about astrology. We've got a guest who we're going to be discussing this with. So let's bring him in.
Leo, you want to unmute yourself?
No, thank you. I think I will not.
All right, so welcome to this section of our podcast, Leo. We're going to talk about astrology. So first, I kind of want to hear your views on astrology.
Basically, I just think you can't. It's just like with everything, you can't be like, oh, it's all true. Some of it is bull crap. Okay, some of it is just stupid. But I think there is some of it that you're like, the coincidences just line up too much to the point you're just like, there has to be some type of rightness to it, even if all of it is not, all of it is obviously not true. I definitely don't think that, but I think at least some of it is a little bit true.
So what are some of the coincidences that you've seen?
I think people definitely have certain personalities. I know this sounds crazy, but sometimes I'll be like, when I know a person a little bit and I onto them a little bit, I'll be like, oh, what's your sign? And I'll try to guess. And usually on the second or third try, I can guess. And I'll be like, how did you know that? And I'm like, it's just the vibe. And it's just, I feel like there is definitely some type
The
of
second or third time.
I mean, hey,
Hey,
sometimes
you're not
on the
gonna
first.
guess. You can guess all 12 and eventually.
Oh my god.
Um,
You gotta,
I don't know,
you can't always be right.
I don't
It's
think
the
it's.
Simpsons effect.
Would you like to
Oh my God.
elaborate instead of just going to there?
Well, people think that the writers predicted the future or whatever, but it's they make so many bold claims over and over and over that at least a few of them have to be correct.
Well, I would actually say the opposite is true
Exactly.
with astrology. They
Whoa.
don't.
I thought I was
No,
talking
no,
about The Simpsons. The Simpsons, I don't know. Anyway,
no.
not related.
I
Not
agree.
related. Okay.
So the Simpsons effect is basically where the symptoms makes a wide variety of specific claims, and some of them end up being true. The thing with astrology is they make fewer claims, but they're all very broad and vague. They'll be like, you're a person who sometimes gets angry. And then everyone on Instagram who sees the meme is all like, oh, wow,
Libras
that's so
be like,
me.
I'm human. No one else gets happy.
There's also the ones which have been on everyone's story where it just says the name of their star sign, and then it'll just be a picture and have different things around it, like different character traits, and they're all so broad and can be applied to literally everyone. Like sometimes you get jealous, Sometimes you get sad. Sometimes you're happy. Like, bro, what? That could be for anyone. And people put this on their stories and they're like, oh, wow, that's so me. And I'm kind of thinking, yeah, it is. But it
Yeah, it's
doesn't
also
make you
me.
special. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also me.
Yeah, it's not incorrect. It's
It's
just
not incorrect.
It's just broad.
vague. And I suppose that kind of goes along with what Leo was saying about how you have to take some of the astrology with a grain of salt. You can't take all of it too seriously.
Leo, I want to ask you a question. So, like you mentioned before, you're the kind of person who takes astrology with a grain of salt. Like, you look at it, you enjoy it, but you don't really like. There's some parts of it that you might believe, some parts of it you might not. But do you know anyone who like really does like believe every aspect of it and like makes their decisions like based off of it?
I feel like I don't feel like I know someone who's like fully like that, but I know people who are kind of like that, and that freaks me out a little bit because I think I don't know, because those people, it's like you can't do that with anything. If you just decide you're like, if I roll a dice and every day I roll a 3, I'm gonna eat eggs for breakfast, and if I roll a 1, I'm gonna eat toast. I don't know. I just feel like there's some type of free will, and it can't like have to have some type of free will, which is something that like astrology I think takes away, because people are like, oh, my app today, it said I'm gonna go out and talk to my ex and do all this, and it's like, no. You made that choice.
Yeah.
You made that choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got another question for you, Leo. So we've been mainly talking about star sign stuff,
Yeah.
but there's also your moon sign and your sun sign.
Hmm.
How does that factor in to any of your beliefs? Or the opposite, do you not really mess with that kind of stuff?
I do, just because I think like I also just believe that in general, like the planets and everything going on in the universe has an effect on what we do. Whether that's because of like you think in like a religious aspect of like, oh, there's like a higher power controlling the universe and what's going on, and so everything is like how it's supposed to be, or whatever, and just believing in science, and it's just like proven that even if it doesn't affect us like personally, it obviously affects the earth because of gravity and stuff like that. So I think that like in that aspect it does matter, but I also think that it's not just like a single thing of like you believe in astrology and that's it. I think it's more of like a thing of like combining your beliefs. Like if you're religious, you might use astrology to, go further in your religion or help you understand something better in your religion or something like that, or give you guidance.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like, it's not really just a thing of like, at least for me, is like, oh, I believe in astrology. That's it. If I go against what my astrology app says, I'm going to just like, it's going to turn out the worst day for me and all this stuff, because then you don't have free will. So I think part of it is just like the fact that you do have to think about it and be like, okay, maybe this is right, maybe this is wrong, but I can use it as a tool to help me, or in some like other spiritual aspect to use it. I think it's more about like personality and how you like carry yourself and how it affects you, more than like what like I don't think like, oh, if you're born on this certain day or at this time or whatever, or if the moon is like in this place, you're going to get married at 35. Like that doesn't make sense. But I think it affects your personality like when you're born, and then also as you go through life, like where the planets are and stuff like that could affect what's going on.
You've talked about how there's kind of like a science side, which you kind of vibe with more, and kind of a whimsical side where there's horoscopes and they try to predict exactly what's going to happen to you. You don't really buy into that side. So could you perhaps go a bit more in depth on the science side and how the science of it really works?
Yeah, I think just for me and the way that I think about it is just like the planets and how they're aligned and stuff like that. I feel like, at least with what we know with science, affects the earth. Like we may not know, oh, like okay, Jupiter's over here in this position, it affects me this way, whatever. Like maybe not that, but at least we know it affects the Earth. So with any science, it's like you have to, it's not like with, a crime, like innocent till proven guilty. No, it's not right until it's proven wrong. It's always wrong until it's proven right with science, because if there's any failure or any lack of validity that they can find, then it's wrong until you can fully prove it right. So I think just because there's not validity found yet doesn't mean that there isn't any. So I think like with that, you have to think about, okay, well, the planets being in certain ways around the sun and stuff like that, and gravity like affects the Earth. So it's not outrageous to think that it affects us. And that's kind of what I think is like, okay, I understand, like, because of the position of the planets during a certain time, you might feel this way because of the gravitational pull on Earth, or like because of the radiation coming from the sun or stuff like that. It's
Okay,
just like,
so
Can,
I've
can I
got
jump
I've
in real
got
quick?
one sec. I have something I
Okay.
really want to say. So I've got one side of it where the gravity of different planets affects the Earth. And I've got another side of it where people end up having certain personalities depending on when they're born, and certain emotions depending on where the planets are. But I'm not really making the connection. Like, how do people look at those and determine what kind of personality you're going to have? How did someone decide that Aries are going to feel this way and have this kind of personality? Like,
Yeah,
how did we make that connection?
here's my thing. The whole thing about the science aspect of it, like, yeah, no crap. The moon has an effect on Earth. Like, we frickin' knew that for like decades, or at least decades at this point. My problem is, where does that connect with our personalities? Like Caleb was saying, I really don't get the connection. Like, we know that the sun has an effect on our physical health because we know the sun can cause skin cancer and we get sunburn. But I don't think there's any science out there that can really say for sure that the sun has any effect on people's personalities or the way they think.
So
I'm
I think
sorry.
Aiden and I kind of said the same thing. I just said it slightly more politely. So, yeah, you can go ahead and answer, Leo.
I just look, man. I just think it's a load of bull crap. That's just my thing. I mean, Leo, I get where you're coming from about this, and like, yeah, but and it's not even a problem with you. It's really mostly a problem with where I've seen a lot of these Instagram pages. They don't tie it into science at all. You're thinking about it a little more rationally, where it's like, okay, well, there's a science to it. But what it seems like from these pages or people who I've discussed this with, it really seems like people are just saying like, oh, the planets and the sun have some magical sort of influence on how I think and my personality, and I just don't see it.
Let's give Leo a chance to answer.
I think that with like Instagram and stuff like that, like those are just because people are like whatever and doing whatever and like taking, I think a lot of that is bull crap. And even though like I'll post that stuff on my story, be like, haha, whatever, it's just because I'm like, oh, that's funny, whatever, I'm gonna post it because I relate. But it's the same thing with what you're saying before, where like some of it is really broad and it's like you could take any single one and you could relate to what they're saying. And I agree with that. And I think that a lot of that is just like kind of like white girl astrology. Like cut and dry, cut and dry, like, oh, if you're an Aries, you're gonna be mad all the time. What, I don't even frickin' know. If you're a Taurus, you eat a lot, whatever. Like shit like that, where it's like this one way that they are, and then they take that and turn it into like some type of stereotype around it. I don't know. I just think with ones like that.
Okay, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I think maybe with some people, like astrology kind of helps them get a grasp. Like, I know at times, like everything seems like super unclear, and something like astrology that I guess is somewhat set can give people security. I don't really know. However, I do think it's kind of ignorant to classify people's personalities by like their birth month, and to kind of like eliminate their like independence and like free thinking, or like, I don't know, just to generalize, which I know Leo touched on that. I just think that's kind of backwards.
I agree with Miles about how you shouldn't really judge people solely based off of what their star sign is. And you should definitely, not demean people based on what their star sign is. Because I know in a lot of situations where star signs in astrology have come up and I've said, I'm a Gemini, people go, "Oh, of course you're a Gemini. You act like such a Gemini." They go on and on about it. And then after that point, whenever I see them, they bring up stuff about how I'm a Gemini and they tell me my horoscope. And I don't really like that. And I think that that shouldn't be a thing, is basically what I'm getting at. Like, I understand people doing it for fun, making little memes out of it, even though I don't think that's a legit thing. But people basing their social interactions and perhaps even who they date and spend their time with based off of these, in my opinion, made up star signs, I don't agree with that at all.
I think that is stupid. Like people being like, I would never talk to a Cancer. Never. Like you're just. I think a lot of people just say that to say it, and not because they really believe it, or like their ex is like that, so they'll be like, "Oh, I hate Gemini's," because like their worst ex is a Gemini or some stuff like that. Like, I think it's with that. It's like, what are you? You're just using it. You're just using it as like a thing to be like hatred towards somebody based on something.
So I don't know. I'm confused because it seems like we're kind of sitting here bashing these people who base how they view people off of star signs. But here you are, and you also are here with a preconceived notion that if people are of a certain star sign, they're more likely to act a certain way.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's the same thing. I think people who take anything too seriously, there's not like it doesn't turn in. It's like if you take anything too seriously, it's not that like fun. You don't really
Oh
get
yeah, I mean,
enjoyment
I
out of
think
it.
any radical belief in like any direction, like no matter what the belief is, anything radical or too extreme is a negative thing.
Exactly. Because then you're limiting yourself and you're limiting like your scope of things.
Oh
But
yeah,
I
your
think
peripheral is shrunk at that point, and you just have a one track like tunnel vision mind.
I'm really glad we're wrapping up this topic having found some common ground. We both
yeah,
agree that lots of horoscopes are just kind of bull.
yeah,
We both agree that, a lot of extremists about astrology are full of
like,
but we do agree that the planets and the stars have some kind of influence over humans. Whether or not that causes personality traits or not, we don't necessarily agree on it. But we do agree that, there's something.
something.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
This might be the last question. I don't know. You've been on for a while, and we've enjoyed having you. I look at these Instagram pages that Miles has sent in, and I see they have 1 million followers, 550,000 followers. It's insane. So basically, what do you think of people trying to profit off of astrology? That's my thing.
I feel like in some aspect it's kind of messed up because you're like I don't know. I think it's like if people are going to choose to believe what they believe no matter what. That's kind of what I feel like. Is like if someone wants to believe it, then they will, and whether the Instagram page was there or not, they're going to believe it. So I guess it's like as long as these people who are like trying to profit off it or whatever aren't like coercing people in and being like, "Oh, believe this about yourself and your friends or whatever." I feel like it's all kind of just fun and games. And I think that's like
Yeah,
with anything,
yeah,
there's an
I
aspect.
see that.
Yeah,
You're
there's an
you're also kind of
aspect.
cutting out though.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that, like, what even point was I trying to make? Oh, I was just saying that people are gonna believe whatever they want, no matter what. It's like if somebody believes this, they're gonna believe it. So I think there's always like an aspect of jealousy, even if you see people doing YouTube and it's like obvious, like they don't do or they're just like super lazy, because there's certain people who are like, oh, you can make that video in 2 minutes and it would be there, and they have like millions of followers. It's like you're not really putting in effort or doing anything. And so I think there's always an aspect of jealousy there, and being like, I think what you're doing is stupid. How are you making money off of that? Like, that shouldn't be fair. But I think people are going to like watch what they want and feel how they want no matter what. And as long as those people are like not being mean about it and making like Scorpio hate page, all Scorpios are stupid, and they have like millions of followers and they're like promoting this. I think as long as you're not promoting to like hate other people, then I think it's okay. That doesn't mean it's right, because I also think it is stupid to put those people in boxes. But I'm saying, like, with even if that didn't exist and like the community of like Instagram didn't exist with astrology, I feel like people would still somehow find a way to think that, even if it wasn't there for their easy access. Maybe not as many people, but I still feel like it would be a problem no matter what, because people are going to believe what they want.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this topic,
Mhm.
Leo.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Leo.
much.
Yeah, it was lit.
Are welcome. It was lovely.
So, actually, now that Leo's gone, I would like to give my answer to your question, Alan, about how I feel about people who profit off of astrology. And my view, this is going to be highly controversial, especially with the examples I'm going to be giving. But I think that there are so many people who profit off ignorance and lies. And that's evident with the lottery, and that's evident with religion, and that's evident with astrology, and that people are going to make billions of dollars off of people who don't know any better. And that's just the reality of life.
I agree.
I think people are going to put their hopes into intangible things and will be willing to spend their money off of it. And the people who capitalize off that, they're bad people. But I mean, it's going to happen.
It's what televangelists do. It's the same thing.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm probably gonna take this part out, but I'm
a religious skeptic.
So I don't really hold astrology and religion to two different standards. That's just my personal thing. I think
I view
a
them
negative
as
thing either
very
way.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
But we can't really. The thing is, we can't really talk about religion in the same way. Can I just say something really quick?
Mhm.
This may be a controversial opinion. We live in a society. That's it. That's all I have to say.
So, actually, based off what Kayla was saying, I'd personally disagree. I would say astrology is actually more of a majority than a minority. Or at least maybe that's just how I see it with who I am around mostly. But I feel like a lot of people that I know are, into astrology. I think the minority in astrology is the people who actually like care about it and are like what Leo was saying, like actually, have genuine beliefs and whatnot.
Yeah, but there's not the same fanaticism and radical fan base that there is with religion.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Miles, what are your thoughts on the subject?
Well, I mean, if I said my thoughts, I'd just recap what everyone else already said, which is what
Okay.
I'm especially good at. It's not having original thoughts.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to keep to myself.
So now we're going to be looking at a few posts without Leo, and we may end up being a bit less sensitive about our viewpoints towards astrology because we will kind of be roasting these posts. So take it away.
Okay, I think we should start with the raccoon, because honestly, those are just gold. Those are just.
Those are so funny.
So I think go to the first. So I think you can have your phone out, I guess, and we can look at them there. But you don't need when we're looking at the posts, you don't need to describe them because I'm gonna put them on screen when we do it.
All right.
So this first one, start with the one that says Libra. It doesn't matter what month you're born in. When you're getting proposed to, you're not gonna not be happy. Unless you're just unless you don't like the person.
And you're not allowed to get proposed to as a raccoon unless you're a Libra, by the way.
Oh yeah, fact.
Just gonna
Maybe we should take it literally. Like I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's something I'm missing.
gonna take these literally because this is exactly what they're saying.
No, I mean literally. I don't know. It just seems so.
They made it a lot.
It just seems so odd. Like you said, everybody could fall into that category, but it seems like there should be like I don't know. It just seems like there's something we're missing.
Let's take it maybe as not so much a blank statement. Maybe it's the fact that Libras will be happy if they receive some sort of compliment. Which, that's kind of a stretch, but what if we look at it that way?
Anyone is going to be happy when they receive a compliment.
Thank you.
That is what a compliment means.
Let's go to the next one, the Scorpio. Scorpios, they always be rubbing their hands together. It's just Scorpios.
They always be showing them pearly white chompers.
The next one's Sagittarius. Sagittarius got them long tongues.
So Miles, would you like to weigh in on this one as you're a Sagittarius?
So I've thought about this. So I for one I feel like an abnormally, maybe not abnormal, but a short tongue. Like I was never able to touch my nose with my tongue, and I've seriously put thought into this. And sometimes I'll grab my tongue and I will pull it up to my nose, and that's the only possible in which I can touch my nose with my tongue. So no, I for one don't have a long tongue.
All right, I think we should look at this as a statement. I think what it's saying is Sagittarius are thirsty. It's a raccoon.
That's
Miles, are you
kind of taking it too far?
Would you consider yourself a thirsty person?
As far as like I get dehydrated often, yes, I do.
You want that drink? You want that drink?
Do I want that drink, or are you talking about like?
Either way, do you always want water, or are you always looking for
a romantic partner?
I am usually looking for one. As far as the second one goes, no, I think I really just kind of like, if it happens, it happens. Like I don't. Jesus Christ, this is
freaking
weird.
You're making it so awkward, Miles.
I know, it was extremely awkward.
My personal favorite is the Aquarius one. You want to scroll over to that? It's just a raccoon wearing a Pope hat. Like, what does that mean? I don't understand.
Is the Pope an Aquarius?
I think people just like feeling unique. So they just take like a minor cursed image with some funny animal doing a funny, unique, quirky thing, which you wouldn't expect, and then put something that relates to you, for example, your star sign, on top of it, and wow, you feel so special.
Yeah, I kind of want to see Gemini.
No, it's not there.
There's a second half. The other 6 slides.
Oh,
there's like another post.
I see.
For this one, it says Gemini. I feel like this one
have gambling issues.
It's just a raccoon holding a card.
I think this says that Geminis have gambling issues. Actually, possibly.
Can I weigh in on that?
Go ahead, Alan.
I'm 16. I can't legally gamble. So I don't think
this actually hits too close to home for me because my crippling gambling addiction has left my family with tens of thousands of dollars of debt, and I feel like this raccoon is demeaning me.
I don't know. I really can't relate. I love me a game of Go Fish. If we're just gonna throw out some games that we like, but I feel like
is that even gambling?
No, it's not. That's the thing.
Well, you could gamble with it. You could, in theory, gamble playing Go Fish.
You could technically gamble.
I feel like you could gamble on anything. That's special.
True. I'm gonna gamble on the fact that I don't relate to this, and I'm gonna get my money, but I don't.
All right, do you want to go to the next slide then?
Yeah. You got Cancer.
Well, we can tell that someone's been getting a bit lonely in quarantine.
Oh yeah.
I say we move on to the third topic.
Oh no! Wait! We have one more. These are my other favorite ones. These are the comic posts.
All right. How about we act this out? We act this out with two of us.
Sure.
One of us is the brain.
I want to be the brain.
All All right, I'll be the person sleeping.
Let's do the Gemini one. It's the third slide.
What? Oh, okay, of the first one.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Gemini. Are you sleeping?
Yes. What?
No one replied to your messages.
So, moving on from astrology, our last topic is about Zoom. And there was a couple of things with Zoom.
Oh, also, just for clarification, I don't think we ever said it, but most of our viewers will know what Zoom is. But in case you do not, Zoom is like the biggest video call system as of right now. I'm pretty sure that it's mainly used for businesses to video call and audio call with their workers, or for like teachers to connect with their students.
One of the things was that apparently there's not actually end-to-end encryption with Zoom. So there's been a lot of leaks of live streams and a lot of hackers. And they were also sued for allegedly sharing users' personal data with Facebook. All right. Well, I mean, it's not just the fact that they're selling data. It's mainly their massive security problems, and it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
Miles, Raleigh, you got any thoughts on this?
No. No, I don't, to be honest.
I'll search for products on various sites or what have you, and
Do
Okay,
these sites include Facebook Marketplace?
Caleb,
Yeah.
shut up.
Caleb, we're trying to encourage
Facebook Marketplace doesn't. It's not a good example.
Raleigh, what was your thing about like the people?
Yeah, so with Zoom, there's also another like major issue going on, in that it goes two ways. The first part of it is like there's a big trend right now with famous YouTubers, celebrities, TikTokers, whatever. They're like asking, they're like tweeting and stuff like, "Hey, let me get on your Zoom calls." Which is like, for example, a recent one was James Charles, and this, a lot of people are still actually like supporting it, like people like James Charles fans or whatever. They're like, "Oh yeah, bet, here you go," and they'll like send their link, which is a major issue because you might just be a regular teacher just trying to teach your class on video call. You might already be struggling with it if you're not that technologically savvy. So these, with major, celebrities, famous people joining in on this, you're going to have distracted students and whatnot. And it seems like there's not really that many people like going back, like telling them not to do it. Like a lot of fans and stuff are saying, "Yeah, oh, here you go." But there's not a major amount of people who are saying that's bad.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming
from. Oh, and the second part that I wanted to mention, I'm not entirely sure what's going on with it. I just saw like some brief stuff about it, but apparently there's something with like criminals are somehow also getting in on this, and like the FBI is getting wrapped into it. I'm not exactly sure. It's called Zoom bombing. That's what it is. But like, there's FBI warnings and stuff about it as video calls are getting like hijacked and whatnot. That's all that I've been.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I think the I don't know. I really got a feel for those teachers because like if a criminal somehow gets onto a Zoom call, that teacher's
Jesus
gonna get in
Christ,
trouble.
that would be a smooth criminal.
Yeah, I mean, it would, but that's not the point I was gonna make.
I'm not kidding.
That's not the point I was gonna make, but you're right. I feel like those teachers would be getting in trouble, right? Like,
for sure.
I don't know.
Probably.
And
Well,
then
also,
just imagine
Their whole like class would be disrupted.
that's what I was about to
Exactly.
say. Like, imagine this is also for the celebrity thing, but imagine you're trying to teach your kids about logarithms, and
Frickin'.
James Charles joins your call. All your kids start freaking out. They're all like fanboying or fangirling or whatever. It's
Yeah.
disrespectful in my opinion to like even give that out, and I feel bad for those teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll try to find the tweet and like news articles that I'm talking about. I'll try to send it to you if you want to put stuff up on the screen. But I mean, it is like that's a major issue, and I'm sure that teachers, like you said, are also probably going to get in trouble for that because, I mean, even though they cannot control it, it's if you get like a criminal or a famous person in on your call, you're not supposed to have them there. So even though it's not by their choice, it's like they still probably will get some sort of like flack for it,
Yeah, and it used to be a fairly small website, like some homeschools would use it, but its
Yeah.
usage just exploded over quarantine, and they really weren't up to the task of having all those people, and their security is just trash. And now
Yeah.
Skype is offering options to host like classes and be a Zoom alternative.
Yeah.
That kind of wraps up today's episode. And last episode, we had a bunch of bots dislike our video. So to help, counteract that if it happens again, you guys should definitely drop a like and make sure to subscribe. And yeah, that was Birdy Boyz episode 3. Hope you enjoyed.